If you have hypertension, also known as high blood pressure, or if anyone in your family suffers from this condition, then this may be the most important presentation you ever watch. When my ringing phone jolted me out of bed at 4 in the morning, I knew it couldn't be good news. But I had no idea of the nightmare that was in store for me. My dad told me he'd found my mother collapsed in the bathroom. Now he was with her at the hospital, and she was barely clinging to life. I raced there as fast as I could. When I arrived, the doctor told me she was in critical condition, and there was no way of telling if she'd pull through. Was she going to die right there in front of me? All because she hadn't fixed her high blood pressure when she had the chance? It's also called hypertension, and not only can it strike you dead at any time, it can also slowly kill you from the inside, destroying one internal organ at a time. So if you have higher than normal blood pressure, and you think it's not a big deal, if you think you can just leave it alone and all will be fine, then this, right now, is your wake-up call. Because if you don't do something about your high blood pressure today, it will do something bad to you, and you and your family will end up suffering terribly. If you don't take action, you could be the one lying helplessly in the hospital as your loved ones pray for a miracle. And trust me, you don't want to put your family through that. I'll tell you the rest of my horrifying story in a moment. And more importantly, I'll reveal an all-natural hypertension reversal secret that you can use today. And if you're like the average person who thinks it'll take years to reverse your condition, then let me tell you something that may shock you. There are documented cases of people lowering their blood pressure dramatically within just 3 weeks using simple, all-natural methods. That's not always the time frame. The results may vary from person to person, but you need to know that reversing your hypertension absolutely is possible, and you can do it without medications. So I urge you to watch this presentation to the end while you still can, because once Big Pharma finds out I'm sharing this all-natural method that is clinically proven to reverse your high blood pressure without the need for prescription drugs, I'm sure to be next on their hit list. They've got a long history of suing those who do anything to threaten their bottom line, but I'm willing to take the risk in order to get the truth out. Because according to the latest U.S. Census data, over 100 million Americans suffer from high blood pressure or hypertension. If you have even slightly higher than normal blood pressure, this puts you at risk for 4 of the top 10 killer diseases in America, which strike without warning and tear apart millions of families every year. In just a moment, I'll tell you the shocking story of how my mother nearly became the 4th person in our family to die from this insidious disease, and how I discovered a secret, all-natural healing method that finally unchained my mother from prescription medications and allowed her to reverse her condition for the long time. My name is Derek Daniels, and trust me when I say, you do not want to live through the nightmare that hypertension unleashed on my family. It's called the silent killer because it can cut you down out of nowhere at any time, and so many people who know they have high blood pressure ignore it, because oftentimes there are no symptoms until it's too late. A while ago, during a routine checkup, my mother learned from her doctor that her blood pressure was higher than normal, so she just took the pills he prescribed her and went on with her life, like millions of Americans. Because her hypertension wasn't causing her any pain, at least not yet, she didn't see any need to do anything about the silent killer inside of her, and it very nearly wound up killing her. Today, however, she's more than just a survivor. She's healthier than she's been at any time in the past 30 years. So now I want to share her all-natural healing secret with you so that you too can quickly and easily reverse your high blood pressure without risky and expensive drugs, dreadful side effects, or a sudden stroke or heart attack that lands you in the emergency room or in the cemetery. In this short presentation, I'm also going to expose an unethical side of the medical industry that may shock and even disturb you. I discovered this too during my journey back to health. In fact, in just a moment, your blood might boil in anger when I expose what's really going on behind closed doors in the doctor's offices. And did you know the most terrifying part of this condition is how stealthily it sneaks up on you? Hypertension can suddenly snatch away your life or leaves you permanently disabled before you even know what hit you. It's like having a cobra slithering through your veins that can strike at any moment. But But that's not even the worst part. This silent killer inside of you is damaging and destroying everything it touches, weakening your heart and blocking your blood vessels without you even realizing it. And by the time you discover something's really wrong, it's already too late. According to the American Heart Association, hypertension causes damage to the cells of your arteries' inner linings. This results in artery damage and causes them to constrict, which may not sound life-threatening, but the reality is much more frightening because this condition damages the critically important blood vessels, which your heart needs to pump blood through your entire body. And when you suffer from hypertension long enough, you will eventually suffer from coronary and artery disease. As for what happens next, well, your blood will not be able to flow freely through your arteries. And when the blood flow to your heart is restricted, you will experience sharp chest pains, irregular heart rhythms, arrhythmias, or even a massive heart attack or stroke that can cause irreversible damage. Over time, high blood pressure causes your heart muscles to weaken and work less efficiently. If this goes on for long enough, your heart simply wears out and fails, and you drop dead and die. If you're lucky enough to stay alive, despite your high blood pressure, this insidious disease isn't done yet, because it causes irreparable damage to your brain too. Uncontrolled high blood pressure can damage and weaken your brain's blood vessels, causing them to narrow, rupture, or one of the other deadly ways in which the hypertension cobra can strike. As if that isn't bad enough, high blood pressure can lead to vascular dementia and cognitive impairment, and even devastating conditions like Alzheimer's disease, which will cause you to literally lose your mind. Yes, hypertension can result in dementia or full-blown Alzheimer's, on top of your heart weakening or failing. The American Heart Association further states that high blood pressure is one of the most common causes of blindness. That's because it can damage both the large arteries leading to your ocular cavities, and when the blood vessels within the eyes build up enough pressure, they may eventually burst, leaving you blind. The more research I did and the more facts I discovered, the more disgusted and alarmed I became, because I realized that 99% of the drugs that doctors prescribe only treat the symptoms of high blood pressure while completely ignoring the root cause. Now, before I reveal to you the dirty truth behind why most doctors only treat symptoms of this problem,